Hello everyone, welcome to another video where we'll be examining issues involving Star Trek cartography. In particular, we'll be examining the question of could Voyager have gotten home sooner if they had used the Bajoran wormhole instead of just setting a course directly for the Alpha Quadrant. Continuing with as we did in the previous video, we'll be using on-screen evidence of the layout of the galaxy to help make these calculations. For example, you can see in several Voyager episodes in their 7th season, including in this shot from the episode Inside Man, that there is a map of the galaxy that shows both Voyager's path and, interestingly enough, the Gamma Quadrant terminus of the Bajoran wormhole. Of course, you can't really read the details on screen, but thanks to Memory Alpha, I have a link, which I'll put in the description, to a higher quality image of this map, which we will now be looking at on the next page. So we can see here at the bottom of the map Voyager's starting location in the Delta Quadrant and its path it is taken back towards the Alpha Quadrant, and even a projected time when they arrive back at the Federation. You can see this indicated by the green area at the top of the map. However, if you look at the bottom right area of the map, you can see the Bajoran wormhole. So if we connect Voyager's initial spot in the Delta Quadrant with the wormhole, we have a line here like so. And if you look all the way at the bottom, we can see a scale of 10,000 light years, roughly equivalent to one grid on this galaxy map. Now this map can be a little bit deceiving at first glance because it is tilted or angled instead of looking straight down at the map like in our last video. So the grid's rectangles actually get smaller as you move towards the quote-unquote northern part of the map. However, the Bajoran wormhole and the Delta Quadrant location of Voyager are both relatively close to the southern end of the map, so I think it'll give us a decent estimate if we use the 10,000 light year scale as indicated at the bottom. With that in mind, let's do some calculations. First of all, our distance. From the area where the Voyager was brought to the Delta Quadrant by the caretaker to the Bajoran wormhole on the map is about 7.7 inches. And from our scale, we know that 1.22 inches is equivalent to 10,000 light years. So we can set up our proportion here to find the light year distance from the caretaker's array to the Bajoran wormhole approximately. And when you do the math, we get a number of approximately 63,115 light years. Now, how long was the path that Voyager would have to take to the Alpha Quadrant directly? According to Caretaker, it was about 70,000 light years, although we don't have an exact number. So already you can see that this is a somewhat shorter trip. But in particular, let's look at how fast could Voyager really go to see how much of a difference this would make. Regarding Voyager's top speed, we know that the ship had a sustainable cruise velocity of warp 9.975. However, how fast is this exactly? We do have a couple of examples over the course of the show that give us a clue of what the ship's top speed was. For example, in the episode Scorpion, it was stated that the ship could travel 40 light years in 5 days. When you do the calculations, this works out to approximately 2,922 times the speed of light. Now this could be equivalent, or thereabouts, of warp 9.975. Possibly Voyager could have sustained that speed for 5 days, although I'm sure they couldn't have sustained it for years at a time. So let's compare this to what was stated in Caretaker, where it said they would take about 75 years to go roughly 70,000 light years. Now if you take this at face value, that means Voyager's speed would be 933 times the speed of light. However, since we know that Voyager can travel faster than this over shorter periods of time, This estimate must include, detours, stops for refueling, and so on, other things that would extend the length of the trip. However, we can use this number, 933, as an estimate of Voyager's effective speed over a long period of time, in decades in this case. So we have a distance of 63,115 light years, and an effective speed of 933 light years that Voyager can cover in a year. If we put these two results together, we get an approximate travel time of 68 years for Voyager to reach the Bajoran wormhole from their initial location in the Delta Quadrant, which is somewhat shorter than their estimate of going directly towards the Alpha Quadrant. I know there are a lot of caveats here, but our initial conclusion is that using the Bajoran wormhole could have theoretically shortened the journey of Voyager by 7 years. Now, there are, of course, other considerations to take into account here. For example, would Voyager have to travel through Dominion space to get to the Bajoran wormhole? And possibly they could have been worried that the Bajoran wormhole, which was only recently discovered when Voyager was lost, that maybe it wouldn't last long enough for them to get to it. And that after a long journey, they'd be no closer than when they started, effectively. However, there are other possible advantages of going towards the Bajoran wormhole, such as being able to avoid Borg space, as well as the core of the galaxy. Because as you can see here, the direct line, which is shown in red, would pass very close to the core of the galaxy, but you can see Voyager's actual path, which has been diverted around it. So we know what happens when you go to the core of the galaxy, and it's not a good thing. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little study of galactic geography and warp travel in Star Trek. If you have any comments or suggestions, I welcome to hear them. Until then, I hope you have a nice day.